Hi guys, welcome to the interesting video on the Wild Rift. So today we're back with the Wild Rift patch 2.4 review. And no two ways about it, this is gonna be a long one because there are a lot of changes. Now I gotta admit that originally I was supposed to do like 2 to 3 videos on it and split them up because we already got the item changes, we already got some of the changes that were expected, like the rank changes, but I miscalculated the dates. I thought that the patch was going to be releasing tomorrow at this time, but it released one day earlier than what I was expecting because I got it wrong, basically. So we're just going to cover it all in one video, but I'm going to try to go as fast as possible. So first up, Akshan, the new champion, is being released in Wild Rift. Of course, with the reviving teammates passive on his W is going to be really interesting, so we're going to have to see how he does. Definitely going to try him out. He's meant to be played in mid lane, where he is the best because he will probably be a roaming mid laner kind of style. But I'm still going to try him out in AD carry, and we'll see how it goes and might make some videos on it if it works out. So we have Rank Season 3 that has already started. Bans coming out tomorrow. So we have the last 3 players getting a ban each onto the enemy team, so that will bring a lot more importance to the drafting phase, and also we can ban out some of the more overpowered champions. Probably Akshan gonna be banned right off the bat just because his W seems so overpowered, but we'll have to see how it goes. So promotional matches removed. I think this changes a double-edged sword because on one hand, having promotional matches and people losing their promotional matches does actually keep them out of the higher ranks if they don't deserve it, so-called. But on the other hand, if people keep losing their promotional matches, they can get demoralized to play and just get stuck at their rank. Or if you hit a high rank, like for example, I made it to Emerald last season with more than a month left on the season, but I didn't want to drop back to Plat, so I just stopped playing at Emerald 4. It's a really common occurrence with a lot of people. Like, you make it to Diamond, you don't want to drop back to Emerald, so you stop playing at Diamond 4. Really common occurrences, so that was another problem they faced. So to get rid of the problem, they just removed promotional matches entirely, which is both a good and a bad thing. But overall, I think it's pretty good because it gives the players a lot less frustration about dropping back and having to play the promotional series again, or people like me who lost like 4 promotional series before getting promoted finally on the 5th try. So next we have Wild Pass Season 2 coming out in 2 days time. So we have a lot more things to get from the Wild Pass essentially with the same price, and the skin is gonna be Hexplorer Teemo. Interesting choice there. Some leaks like a month ago did say that it might be Misfortune, but it was not. So highlight feature coming to the Rift, where multi-kills and Dragon or Baron steals will be automatically recorded. However, it may impact your battery usage and performance. Of course, that's not really what we want, but it's gonna be a trade-off on whether you want to turn it on or off. Like for me personally, I go and watch the replays and just record from the replays, but this one you can actually see your inputs, so you can see capture your inputs, so you can actually see the way you're moving, how you are aiming your abilities and all that. So it probably is better, just that it might affect your battery usage and performance, so you guys gotta see if you want to turn it on. But overall, a really good feature to have, a really good option to have. Spectator and replay, having some new features, toggling Fog of War for red and blue side, to see the different teams' vision, a new HUD for better team fights. So instead of all the characters being on the left and right, it'll be at the bottom. So there's also a new HUD mode. So overall, really good for like streaming replays for esports in general, but not gonna be too much use for the rest of us. Of course, for VOD reviews, having Fog of War changes probably gonna be a bit better, but nothing too massive here in my opinion. So here at the end of game screen, where they're basically showing you your progress on missions, so you don't have to manually check like all the different tabs, like for the events, for the Wild Pass, for the daily missions. Overall, a pretty good thing to have. And share screen feature added, which is basically just by tapping your native share button on Android or Apple, you can share more easily, which is of course good. In that patch notes, I have actually seen this in the game already. As I'm recording this, the patch has already been released, and I don't really like it because it basically just opens your a browser inside the app itself, and basically you just see whatever I'm showing you now, which is from the web page, which is not very user friendly, not very intuitive at all. So probably it'd be better to have an actual in-game patch note, sort of like how Mobile Legends has a actual in-game patch notes, which will make it a lot better. So more languages and a couple of new skins. Of course, all the Sentinel skins and the Ruin skins. We got Battle Academia Akshan, because obviously Akshan's base skin is already a Sentinel skin. Hexplorer Teemo. A lot of accessories here. I'm not going to name all of them, just you guys can just check it out. Probably the Teemo one is for the Wild Pass. And Akshan's one is from the event. This is a really interesting one. It's a mist recall, so that's a really interesting one. A lot of icons, baubles, nothing too massive in my opinion. Events, Sentinels of Light event is continuing, so you can reach level 5 for the rest of the Sentinels, like Vayne, Irelia, and Riven. Akshan, of course, is added as well, so now is the time to grind out the events on the last stretch. I have already got Senna and Lucian to the max level, even level 6. Vayne is like one takedown from level 5 for me, and Riven and Irelia have yet to reach level 4 even. Those are a little bit harder, but enough about that. Let's hit onto the champion changes. Mumu has a bug fix on his E, where his passive now works currently against abilities that deal multiple instances of physical damage instead of just once per ability. So that's going to make him a little bit more tanky, I believe, because basically he has a damage reduction on his E, and it apparently only activated once for like abilities that did multiple times of damage, but now it's going to activate multiple times. So essentially this makes it more tanky, which is a little bit, which is good because it sort of balances out the 5 armor nerf he got in the previous patch. Ashe, her hawk shot reveals for 5 seconds instead of 3. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. There's no combat utility. If you wanted to spot an enemy out in their own jungle, 3 seconds was honestly enough. I don't think this makes any difference at all. The manual turn speed for her arrow is faster, because it's now 45 degrees per second instead of 38. Easier to maneuver. The arrow, of course, doesn't really change its damage or its stun duration or anything, just makes it easier to hit, which I do believe it's not the easiest to hit, but it's not the hardest as well. So easier to hit is good, but don't think it'll make Ashe any much better than she already is. Fizz getting huge changes, and by huge changes I mean they added 3 new things. First up is the main big change, which is on his W. So now it used to be single target, but now it actually does AoE, and its AoE does also apply his passive. So this actually makes his jungle clear better, which also sort of balances out the previous nerf to Fizz jungle, where he did less, where his passive did less damage to monsters. So it also improves his wave clear in mid lane, so that's overall a buff to Fizz. And Protobelt's interaction with Fizz is now not going to get cancelled, and instead, after you cast, if you buffer it, if you recast the second part of your E, it will trigger Protobelt immediately after it, so you can sort of ability buffer it. Essentially, it's a buff because Protobelt used to get accidentally cancelled when you're in your E. So overall, 2 big buffs to Fizz, especially on the W. Graves getting some huge buffs as well. So first up, he's getting actually a nerf to his base stats, his base HP and his base AD. Whoever is 80 per level is getting almost one entire buff, which will overall compensate for his base AD nerf. So he's going to be that much weaker in the early game, but late game he's going to be stronger, and especially with his Q buff. So Q cooldown down by 1 second at all levels, of course very useful. His powder shell AD ratio going from 40 to 70%, which is a significant buff. That is the first phase of his Q before it explodes. Then his explosion damage going down by a little bit in the early game, but in the late game going up by quite a bit. And its AD ratio, instead of 100% AD ratio at all ranks, it's now 70 at first rank and 160% on max rank. So overall, Graves is going to have a weaker early game, but by the time you hit, like, let's say about level 7 or 8, and you reach max rank on your Q, you are going to be doing a lot more damage with better bonus AD ratios on both phases of your Q, and better damage on on your second phase of your Q. So overall your damage is going up, and also you have better scaling on your AD now. So it will compensate for this AD loss by the time you hit about 7 or 8. And on your quick draw, which is your mini dash, your armor stacking is going up by 2 per stack, which of course is going to make you more tanky as well. Graves might become a little bit more viable in the jungle after this, combined with the phase rush addition a couple of patches ago. So Graves might actually be a viable jungler, we shall see. Definitely will be making a tier list for this latest patch, especially with all the new items. Caterina getting a buff to her Grievous wounds as part of the Grievous wounds changes that we'll cover later in the items. Lucian is a bit too strong. I agree, but I don't like these changes. They're all nerfs because I play Lucian. 40, the magic number, base HP nerf, 5 armor nerf, 4 MR nerf, less MR scaling, quite a significant less MR scaling by the way. Down from 1.2 to 0.8, so that's losing 0.4 per level, so it's not very significant, but the change from 1.2 to 0.8 is pretty significant. Base mana regen, down from 18 to 50. Now, he was already having mana problems before this, so this is gonna hit him pretty hard, but with the new Essence Reaver, may not be a problem, so we shall see after some playtesting. Movement speed down by 5. And Rengar having a bug fix where attacking an enemy in melee range while in brush doesn't actually give 1 ferocity, but now it does, working as intended. And his W, casting Battle Roar after Empowered Battle Roar, will correctly heal Rengar, so basically I guess it didn't really double heal him when it should. Varus, Grievous wound changes as well in line with the rest of the changes. Ziggs getting another tower execution threshold nerf, and considering you max your W the last, it's not gonna be too good. Actually, this is 3, but I believe this should be 2. Satchel Charge is his second ability. But it's now down to 15%. It used to be, I think, 25, and it went down to 29 at 15, so yeah, it's slowly just getting nerfed to the ground. Ziggs still gonna be really strong though, so the tower taking aspect of his W is only one of the things that make him strong. His basic attacks and part basic attacks still do a lot of damage to the tower, so it's honestly still alright. ARAM is coming back, really excited for that. I like ARAM. So now we have the new items. So originally I was supposed to make a separate video on the new items, but timings didn't go well, so here we are gonna combine it all together. But I'm going to try to cover it as fast as possible. So Crystalline Reflector. It's an AP item that gives armor, basically meant to fill the void that, since there's no true Zanya's Hourglass, it's now a boot enchant. It builds from Seeker's Armguard, which is also another new item, and the Fiendish Codex. So it gives a bit of AP, a chunk of armor, and ability haste. So basically it's for mages who want more armor, and the passive is granting mirror shards up to 3 that can block 10 plus 5% AP physical damage from enemy champions, and reflects 20 plus 10% AP magic damage onto them. Now I think that this item is going to be pretty strong, because if you build, I don't think you built this as one of your first few items. I think it's your second last item or your last item where where assassins can one-shot you and you have a lot of AP already. So 5% of your AP could be a ton. So AP is, it's quite a lot, so it could be quite a bit. And reflecting 10% of your AP, it's gonna do quite a bit of damage. So if you have like 300 AP, it's gonna do like 30 plus 20 is like 50 damage, like for free on the enemy team just from this item. And with the armor as well, you're gonna be taking a lot less damage, and the reflection, so this might be a really OP item. We'll have to see. Essence Reaver, an item that I wanted ever since the inception of Wild Rift almost a year ago. It's for basically ability casting AD carries, or ability casting champions in general that want crit. So you get 40 AD. So take note that before this, the only crit item that gave AD was Infinity Edge, which gives 25% crit chance and 55 AD. So this is the second of many items in this patch that is going to be giving AD and crit. So 40 AD, 25% crit rate, 25 ability haste. That's a lot of ability haste. Really good for caster marksman like Lucian and maybe even Xayah, Misfortune. So damaging active abilities and empowered attacks deals 10 bonus physical damage plus 70% critical rate. So If you're at 100% critical rate, it'll do 70% of that, which is 70. So honestly, this part not too important. Same ability can only trigger this effect once per unit target cast, and attacks restore 2% missing mana on hit. So this is gonna sort of resolve some mana problems on some characters like Lucian and Misfortune. Maybe even Ezreal might build Essence Reaver because he casts a lot of spells, but it would be his first item. I believe he still goes mana. He will still probably go mana immune into Triforce. But really good item for someone like Lucian. Just think about how good this is gonna be on Lucian. I'm gonna definitely test it out immediately after this. Navory Quickblades, another crit item. Again, gives 45 AD, 25% crit rate, and 15 ability haste. Similar stats to the Essence Reaver. A bit less ability haste though. But instead, your critical strikes with basic attacks reduce your non-ultimate ability cooldowns by 15% of their remaining cooldowns. So of course, if you just use an ability and you crit with your basic attack immediately after, you get the maximum benefit. Of course, really useful for caster AD carries again like Lucian, so really excited about that. Prophet's Pendant is sort of like a second tier item. It's basically it's an Executioner's Calling. Is it? No, that isn't the one. It's another item. This is the plus 15 man. This is the last whisper for magic damage dealer. So it gives 125 health, 25 ability power, and 15% 15 magic penetration. So this is the not last whisper. This is the Serrated Dirk for magic users. So that's good that they have some mini item to build. I mean, they did have Oblivion Orb, but this is useful as well. Seeker's Armguard, small armor item for magic damage users, sort of like the Hex Drinker, which blocks AP. So this is like a Hex Drinker for mages that blocks AD damage instead. Of course, it builds into the Crystalline Reflector that we covered earlier. Sorelda's Grudge, another percentage armor pen item option for AD champion. So previously we only had Moral Reminder, which gives Grievous wounds. Now this basically gives a similar stats to Moral Reminder, 40 AD, a bit less AD, but it gives 15 ability haste and 30% armor penetration, which is the same amount of armor penetration as the Moral Reminder, but instead of the Grievous wounds, we have Bitter Cold. Dealing ability damage slows affected units by 30% for 1 second, and basically you're gonna just be slowing people non-stop. So Lucian builds this in League PC, and it's a thing that a lot of assassins build like as their second item, even or third item sometimes. So it's gonna be a really useful item for AD champions. So we're gonna have to see how it's built, especially now you can only build one Last Whisper item, so you can't stack this with Moral Reminder. Of course you can get this and get Executioner's Calling, but you can't build your Executioner's Calling into anything afterwards, so that's something to take note of. But you might actually go for this early game and build Executioner's Calling early game as well, and when you get to your last item, you sell Executioner's Calling and get something else. That is a possibility. Staff of Flowing Water, it's basically Ardent Sensor for AP. It gives mana, ability power, ability haste, and healing or shielding an ally grants you and them 20 ability haste and 20 to 40 AP for 4 seconds. So basically it's of course good on enchanter supports, which are basically all AP anyway. Gives themselves AP and ability haste, and of course gives allies AP and ability haste. So when they are buffing up their mages in team fights, the mages can benefit more, because obviously mages don't really benefit from attack speed from Ardent Sensor, but this item is probably going to be like a third, fourth item kind of thing, not a first, second item kind of thing. Probably Ardent Sensor and Harmonic Echo is still going to be the first two items for supports, for enchanter supports I mean, because you're in the laning phase, in the bot lane, this isn't going to help at all, because obviously your AD carry doesn't want AP unless you're Corki, maybe. So Stormrazor, another crit item, gives 25 AD. So this is the third item from the patch that gives AD and crit. 25% crit, 20% attack speed. Of course, the AD is really little, but it is another one of those energized one, like Rapid Fire Cannon or Static Shift. Of course, it will give bonus magic damage on hit, sort of like the Oyomus, and in addition, energized attacks slow enemies by 75% for half a second. So really useful on people like Jhin. So this probably will be built on Jhin, and Something to take note of is that it does synergize very well with Static Shift, which can make your slow AoE, so that's just something to take note. Probably that's going to be a potent combo, just like how last time you had the Rapid Fire Cannon with Static Shift having a long range AoE. So long range AoE slow could be a thing also. So now we have a really exciting item, Solari Charge Blade, which gives 30% attack speed, 25% crit rate, 25 ability haste, no AD, so this is more of a standard crit item, but gives ability haste as well. And the passive is insane. It's a completely brand new item from Wild Rift. Using an ability gives Radiance, which grants 25% crit rate for up to 10 seconds. And take note that this is one stack of Radiance already gives crit rate, so you don't have to stack it max to 3. So attacks that critically strike expend 1 Radiance to deal a bit of true damage on hit, and the true damage increases 150% on low F targets. Each unique ability may only store a charge every 2 seconds. So max true damage is 65 to 100, and max at your champion's max level is 100. So really good crit item. I think almost every crit 80 carry will be building this item just because of giving basically the same stats as other crit items. Like this gives the same stats as all the other crit items, like Runan's Hurricane. And of course, it doesn't give Runan's Hurricane's AoE, but it basically just gives the same thing as same stats as Runan's Hurricane, as Static Shift, Rapid Fire Cannon, Phantom Dancer. But in addition, gives ability haste, gives true damage, and yeah, and gives even more crit. So I think everybody's gonna be building this. With N, it's a magic resist item for any attack speed characters like Master Yi or even some 80 carries. So 50 magic resist, 45% attack speed, just 2 basic stats. But your basic attacks deal bonus magic damage on hit, and while below 50% health, that damage that you deal will heal you for that complete amount for melee, but only 1/3 of the amount for ranged of the post mitigation damage. So it's not a core item, but it's sort of like a utility item, like when you're going into AP heavy teams or you have an AP matchup. It'll be built on fighters like Master Yi and Irelia, and sometimes even 80 carries like Kaisa if you really need the magic resist. Sort of another option other than the Maw of Mormodius, which is really good. So item adjustments now. Bloodthirster getting a nerf to its AD, but getting a new 25% crit rate. So now Bloodthirster is a new crit item. So yet another crit item that gives AD, the 4th one. We used to only have 1, now we have 5. So this is really good for Draven, of course, who wants crit and AD. Really good in general, because you can't include Bloodthirster in your crit build. Normally you have to sacrifice your crit to build Bloodthirster, but no more. So this is going to be really good. Now here we have the Grievous wounds changes. So here, Bramble Vest Grievous wounds, instead of 50% Grievous wounds, we now only have 40% Grievous wounds. So Executioner's Calling, same thing, 40% Grievous wounds. But the complete item Infinity Art, no change, except that the build path is different. Same for Morellonomicon. Actually not same for Morellonomicon. Yes, actually is, because it Prophet's Pendant as well. And now Grievous wounds also 40%. But if the target is below 50% health, it's now 60%. So it's now changed to that. Same story with more reminder, 40 base and 60 to low health. Actually not 60 to low health, 40 base and dealing 3 consecutive attacks to any champion makes it 60. So of course 80 carry focused. And Infinity Orb no longer gives any kind of Grievous wounds. So Oblivion Orb, which used to give Grievous wounds, is now Prophet's Pendant, which now gives Magic Pen. So no more Grievous wounds on Infinity Orb. Oblivion Orb removed Death's Touch, not sure what that was. Oh, this was Magic Penetration, so no more Magic Penetration. Instead, we have 40% Grievous Wounds. So this is the Executioner's Calling for mages now. So mages can opt into a Oblivion Orb early if there's a lot of healing on the enemy team. Thornmail getting the change as well. Basically, it's 40. Oh, it's not, there isn't even 40% here. So I believe that upon getting hit by a basic attack, it inflicts probably 40%, and immobilizing probably gives 60%, in line with the rest of the Grievous Wounds items is not specified, but I don't think Thornmill gives 60% on everything, but it is possible, so we have to see. Frozen Mallet has been removed. Honestly, before Senna's release, I would say this completely makes sense because absolutely nobody builds Frozen Mallet unless you're playing a Master Yi on the default build. But nobody builds Frozen Mallet at all. And until Senna's release, now only Senna builds Frozen Mallet as her second item, which will stack with the Iceborne Gauntlet that she will build later. So this is a indirect nerf to Senna. Just something to take note. So Grasp magic damage going down from 4 to 3%, which is a massive nerf because 4 to 3% is a lot of your max health and a lot of your magic damage is gone. So really good balancing, I think, because Grasp on like Fiora, Gragas, Garen is just absurd. So yes, top lane is being dominated by Grasp, so this is a logical nerf, just that it's a pretty harsh nerf. You can now surrender in 5 minutes if everybody says yes. Cooldowns for your ultimate summoner spells and items can now be pinged from the scoreboard, which is really good. It'll be really interesting to see if you can ping the enemy's summoner spell, so you can track like how long is their flash cooldown. But could be really hard, especially because the scoreboard is very small and mobile, so tapping those might be a problem. So yep, death recap, time allowance for Quadras and Pentas have been increased, so easier to get pentakills. Nothing too big here. So now here we have a big change. Rift Herald is now only spawning. It's now spawning earlier at the same time as Dragon. So now it spawns the same time as Dragon at 4 minutes. So now basically, if you don't want to fight for Dragon, you can fight for Rift Herald instead. So it could be like just a cross-map trait. One team gets Dragon, one team gets Herald. And if the first tower hasn't been taken down yet, that is actually not a bad trade. Trading Herald for Dragon and getting first tower with the Herald is a pretty good trade in my opinion. And it might even lead to some things like one team rushing Herald, one team rushing Dragon, the Dragon team rushing to take down the bot lane tower, and the Herald team rushing to take down the top lane tower. Could lead to a lot of interesting scenarios. But it's really interesting because this definitely is going to change the meta, because a lot of the meta is centered around the 4-minute dragon fight. But now it may not even be a 4-minute dragon fight, it may just be 4-minute, one team takes Herald, one team takes Dragon. Or it may even be very different because both teams might think that the other team is taking Dragon. They might both go to Herald, and it's going to be a 4-minute Herald fight. So it's really, really strange. So we'll see. Ignite now gives 60% Grievous Wounds in line with the changes to Grievous Wounds. Now, passive goal is being changed. Now, previously, the passive goal in the early game was changed to this, actually. So, but now, it's now just 3.5 for the entire match. As I said in the previous patch notes as well, this change probably doesn't matter all that much. Basically, now you get a little bit more goal in the early game, but a little bit less goal in the late game passively. But I honestly think it doesn't matter in the slightest, just because of how it affects every single champion in the game in the same way. Unlike like something like this Rift Herald change, which does actually affect everybody in the game, but it affects the meta a lot. This probably doesn't really affect it that much. So a new change starting from after 5 minutes, the lowest goal in the team will get additional 1 goal per second. Normally it's the support, if not probably the it's probably the support. Like it's probably the support. So probably it's a good buff to support. It's changing how kill goal is distributed. So essentially, the long story cut short of this is that the killer will get a higher percentage of the goal compared to the assisters. So normally the killer gets X%, and the remaining goal is shared evenly among the assisters. So if there's 2 people involved, the killer gets a certain percent and the assister gets a certain percent. If there are 3 people involved, the killer gets a certain percent, and the rest is split evenly among the 2 people. So now basically, the killer's percentage is going up. So the person who got the last hit, who got the kill, is getting more gold, and the assister or assisters are going to be getting less as a result because they have a lower share. So basically, it's trying to say that it's helping people to solo carry and solo queue instead of having to rely on their teammates, using the goal effectively. So it's basically a solo queue change, concentrating more goal into a single player's hands instead of the assisters. That is their entire goal of it. So it's just a change. Probably a good thing for like carry champions like AD carries or mid laners. But if like your tank or your support steals your kill, that ain't gonna be too good. So new setting changes, new targeting priority closest. This used to be around, but they removed it after a while, and they did actually just make some changes to it. So I think this is really useful because sometimes you're not always going to target lowest health or lowest health percentage. So new target lock filtering allows you to ignore minions and targets. This is really good. Tapping an ability during a dash will now try to activate the ability at your final location instead of where you are at the current moment, which is good as well. This is a good sort of like bug fix as well. Ultimates now only target champions when tap casted, so you can accidentally cast your ultimate into the minion wave or into a jungle monster if you tap cast it. Honestly, doesn't really affect me too much because I manually aim almost all of the time, and most people, most good players will manually aim. So honestly, normally shouldn't really affect too much. Of course, on champions like Corki and Xayah, this will not be the case. It's an exception because Xayah is sort of like a reactive ultimate to be untargetable, and Corki because of his low cooldown. And strangely enough, Teemo is not included here. I would think that Teemo is because you can just tap cast his mushroom, but it's not. So AFK behavior for quad versus AI is been made a little bit more lenient, but subsequent ones will still be treated normally. Rank fortitude loss where AFK is increased from 10 to 20, where the 20 will be distributed among the other players, either 4 players or if there are like 2 AFKs. 2 players points are going to be distributed among the other 3. You can now see when your friends are permabanned, and you can now type more when reporting. Ranked borders will no longer be displayed in non-ranked queues, so when you're playing normals, you can actually see other people's ranks, and you can't do that anymore, basically. So, interesting change. I don't think it really matters at all. The rest of this, not too important. They say that they improve experience for people with weak network connections. They've said that like for a lot of patches, and I don't know if anything has actually changed, but yeah. So that is it for the patch 2.4 review. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and